Well, we're here today to interview ex-Attorney General, ex-political candidate, ex-Supreme Court Justice, ex-Chief Justice, Jim Jones. Welcome, Jim.
Oh, well, welcome to you, oh great Chief.
I'm Roger Burdick, and I've been given the privilege of interviewing Jim. Can I call you Jim, or do you like to have Justice or have me kowtow in certain ways?
I think Your Highness would do, but Jim is all right.
Okay, good. Jim, we're here to kind of go through your history, take down some thoughts about the practice of law, maybe some advice to new lawyers or old lawyers, as well as to frame a profile of what I believe to be a very illustrious career. One of the things that has always struck me about your career at its beginning to today is you were raised in Eden, Idaho, a proud graduate of Valley High School, and then practiced for many years in Jerome County, a very sparsely populated county. First of all, were there characteristics or were there themes that you carried through to your political career, your AG's career, or to the court that you learned in those small towns?
Well, there are a couple of things. Number one, make sure that if you take a case, it's one that you can believe in. You know, I took a few cases early on that I had some qualms about, and they didn't turn out well. Second thing is that, you know, we have a wonderful profession. I started out not knowing anything about anything. First guy that came into the office wanted a mechanic's lien. And I took down a little information, and when he left, I called Dick Seeley, who was one of the longtime practitioners. I said, "What's a mechanic's lien and where can you find it?" That's a wonderful aspect of this profession. I think a lot of young people don't know. I tried to tell them, you know, if you have a problem, if you need some help and you're on your own, call somebody because they'll help. One of the interesting things I learned down there when I was practicing is that you shouldn't gloat when you prevail over another party. I had a case where a trial was approaching and there was a dispositive motion pending. And we went in front of the judge, Judge Granada up in Burley, and my opponent was a lovely young lawyer down there in Jerome, for the most part. But anyway, he opened up the Idaho report and read to the judge what the judge should do. And it looked like he was going to prevail. And then I had read the case, I was prepared, and I said, "Well, Judge, you might want to look at the footnote at the bottom of the page." And he said, "Mr. Jones, you are correct. Mr. Burdick is not." I'm sorry.
It's true. It's true. I have to live with it. The only case I ever lost, by the way. You've had so many accomplishments, except for your political career.
Well, 50-50.
Why don't you, for the audience, indicate what those political aspirations were?
Oh, geez. I decided in 1961 that I was going to be a U.S. Senator, so went to law school, went to the military, got into politics, and I decided when George Hanson looked like he was in a little bit of trouble in 1968, I decided that was time to go, and so I called Senator Jordan, who was kind of my mentor, former boss. I'd worked for him for 3 years, and said I was going to do it. He said, "No," he says, "I wouldn't do it." He says, "George has got a lot of strong supporters out there." So I backed off, and then a couple of months later, just about 2 months before the primary election, he got into some more trouble, so I jumped in and actually got, I think, 44.5% of the vote. I don't think it was pro-Jim Jones vote. I think it was anti-George Hansen vote, because how can you get that much of a vote in
2 months.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, gee, if I'd had more time, I could have done this again better. So 2 years later, I ran against him, and I had lots of time and got less vote.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Then you ran against Senator Craig.
In 1990, but in between times, I ran for AG 2
Right.
years after my
Oh, okay.
tangle with George, and won that race. It was a tough primary and a tough general election, but got elected, and then 4 years later ran unopposed. And then I was kind of getting ready to get out, and Senator McClure said that he was retiring, so I jumped into that, and didn't prevail. But, you know, it kind of got it out of my system.
Yep, yep. The perspective of being the Attorney General and then being on a court, what were the strengths you brought? What were the surprises you might have had based upon that?
I had, you know, a lot of issues that ended up in front of the court.
We used to joke about, oh God, here's something that Jim Jones passed in the legislature. Now we gotta fix it.
There were a few things that I did that I regret. But I think you have a better understanding of the public policy impacts when you've had a position like the AG's position. One of the other things that was really kind of, in my mind, the hallmark of my work was that as Attorney General, I'd had this knockdown, drag-out fight with Idaho Power Company over Swan Falls water rights. When we settled that, we rewrote a lot of Idaho water law and called for the adjudication. And then, being on the court, I was able, you know, and I was very conscious of, is this a conflict or not, and didn't see conflicts in most of it. But was able to then weigh in on the issue of management of the resource, not just the water right itself, but how do you manage it. And I feel like really that was the biggest contribution that I'd made, to have input on both the policy and then the, how that gets carried out.
Do you find the practice of law can be fun?
I think it can be a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of times when it's not.
Right.
If you have the attitude you're just going to do the best you can, then you don't gnash your teeth so much when you don't prevail. You just can take satisfaction that you know, you've done your best.
Anything else you'd like to share with the Idaho State Bar?
I think it needs to be said that you can make very good friendships on the court. You know, all of the people I served with had such good intentions in different aspects. I mean, I so enjoyed working with you, Roger, even though I've given you heck on a lot of occasions. But, you know, Joel Horton, Warren Jones, Linda Trout, Jerry Schroeder, Wayne Kidwell, who I followed on the court. I keep in close contact with him. You know, just Jess Walders, just so many good people, and it's really mind expanding to get to work with that kind of person that makes it up to the court, and I've just really enjoyed it.
Jim, I want to thank you for your time. I hope young lawyers, middle-aged lawyers, and old coots like you and I enjoy this interview as much as I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice.